Hopefully the results that you hear today will put those rumors to rest, as well as give you useful information that'll help you recruit the workers that you need. As a quick background, Thrive ED is a public-private partnership delivering economic development services in Jefferson and Dodge counties. This partnership has only been in place for a year. The JCEDC, I also get to run because they want to make sure I'm busy, has been in place for over 10 years. As your local economic development professional, I work to ensure that we deliver solutions that help you stay and grow in place. The labor availability analysis is just such a solution to the we have no one to hire problem. The JCEDC had agreed to provide a labor shed study for the city of Jefferson as part of their grant from the Economic Development Administration that they got following the closing of the Tyson plant in the city of Jefferson. When I came on board, I recommended that we instead complete a full-blown labor availability analysis as opposed to a labor shed study. And to do that, very specific for our manufacturing sector because it's the largest industry sector across the two counties. We did use an RFP process and ultimately decided to contract with the Docking Institute to complete this study. The Docking Institute has done their work and they've completed many of these types of studies across America. I want to thank up front the many entities that supported the completion of this study. You've probably seen them on the loop that's been running, but I just want to give a big thank you to the city of Jefferson, to the JCEDC, to the Dodge County SHRM, to WEDC, and of course to all of our Thrive investors. So, I now have the privilege of introducing Mike Walker to you. Mike is the Executive Director of the Docking Institute for Public Affairs at Fort Hays State University in Fort Hays, Kansas. Mike is also an instructor in the Department of Sociology at the university. He joined the Institute in 2000. It started as a research scientist. By 2017, he was promoted to director. He designs a variety of research projects, including survey and focus group research, strategic planning, and program assessment. He's been the lead researcher for over 100 labor and employment studies in Colorado, Kansas, Missouri, Nebraska, Oklahoma, and now Wisconsin, finally. Mike is a member, Mike is a member of the Rural Sociological Society, the Community Development Society. He sits on the Hays Area Chamber of Commerce. He's on the school board, the American Association of Public Opinion and Research, and the Population Association of America. I didn't even know there was such a thing. His background includes ethnographic and survey research, archaeological digs in South Utah, which I love, a political internship in Washington, D.C., and service in the United States Army. Thank you, sir, for that. He regularly teaches urban and rural sociology, community theory and development, social demography, research methods, environmental sociology. This guy is just amazing. Mike received his Master of Science degree in sociology at Utah State University, and he's currently working on his doctorate at Kansas State. I really feel like an idiot every time I talk to this guy. He's so smart. Mike is going to present the findings of the labor availability analysis this morning, and I hope you will join me in welcoming him.
Thank you very much, Vicki, Nat, for bringing me up here, inviting me up, and bringing me up. I appreciate the opportunity to come up here and describe our research and answer any questions you may have. We'll be doing two presentations today, one here, of course, and one down in Jefferson County. I'll start off with a description of why we do what we do and how we do what we do, and then provide a lot of information to you. I won't be able to cover all of the data that's in the report, most of it, but not all. I realized that after probably 45 minutes of me talking, I started to glaze over, so I'll try to cause troubles there. Yes. Okay, so when we have a client contact us to conduct a labor availability study, we ask ourselves a number of questions. And you can see this on the slide, I won't read it to you, but basically, what would an employer want to know about the workers and non-workers in their area, and if they are available for work. And when I say available for work, that means that they've indicated to us through our survey that they are looking for work currently, or interested in a new or different job given the right opportunities. And the only way we think we can do this is through survey research. We start with looking at secondary data, data from the U.S. Census, data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, etc., which does provide a good starting point. But to really get at information, gather information from people on the ground in a specific geographic location, we find that survey research is the only way to do it. So obviously we ask questions on our survey about desired wages. In fact, I call it desired wages. Actually, it's expected wages. What wage would you expect at a new job? We ask about commute times, how many minutes they commute one way to their job if they're working, and how many minutes they would commute one way to a new job. And we also ask about benefits and specific job skills and what they currently do, what they've done in the past. We have a whole bunch of questions. And of course, with this study, we started out with our labor availability study, and then focused on manufacturing. And I'll get to that through my process here. So again, we sort of ask ourselves what you all ask yourself, and then we design our survey instrument, of course, and then we talk to the client and find out where we want to actually do the survey. Now, I'm showing here the Central Wisconsin labor region because we started off with the entire region, including Dodge, Jefferson, and surrounding counties. And we determined that, well, by default, we extended the adjacent counties. But sometimes we don't include the entire adjacent county because of various factors. And the reason we shape the labor, I'm going to confuse my terms a bit. I'm talking about the labor region now. I'll talk about the labor basin in a minute. But the idea here is that the region includes all of these counties, all 10 counties, or portions of these 10 counties here, right? Now, I'm jumping ahead a bit, but for the Dodge County labor basin, we did not include these two counties. For the Jefferson County labor basin, we did not include these counties over here. I'll explain why. Basically, we're talking about the region here. So why did we not include portions west of Madison and the Milwaukee area here? Because we determined over time, and also makes logical sense, that there are a lot of jobs available in those areas. So to assume that workers here will commute to the center of the region here for work, yes, of course, there will be some. I'm sure that employers in the audience today do know that there are some people that commute from these areas. But for our purposes, probably not enough numbers to include the entire county in the labor region or labor basin. The reason we don't do that is because we extrapolate from the survey data we gather to the population, and I'll explain that in a minute. And we found that if we were to include the entire population of the major cities here, that would probably overrepresent the available labor pool. And I know that economic developers don't want to do that because site selectors and employers see right through that. If we were to say you have 2 million people available for work in the area for a new job, it's not going to cut it. So there are reasons that we trimmed the labor basin or region the way we did here. So what we did is we trimmed out the western part of Dane County, the eastern part of Waukesha County, and you can see here, I can't see, and the southern portions of Rock. And then we also, and I have to admit, a typo on the map. I didn't mean to fix that. On Duloc, of course, not a capital, but, and also we did not include this area here. We included everybody else in zip code areas in the shaded area. And I'm probably boring with that, but there's a reason we shape the labor bases the way we do. For this labor region, we have a population of 779,636 people. Now, I realize that's not the entire population of those counties. You know this better than I do. If you were to add the population of all these counties up, it's much larger than that. That's why, but that reflects the population of folks in these counties and zip code areas that we included here. Okay, so the labor force is generally a little more than half, so that's about right, 45,208 in the civilian labor force. The number of employed folks, 433,000 roughly. Again, this all comes from the U.S. Census. You can do these numbers yourself. Well, you can, except you have to spend a lot of time like I did, cutting out these zip codes. So that's not as easy as it made it sound. We did conduct our survey of those folks living in that area, a random sample of folks living in that entire area, from October to February, and we determined through our survey research by asking questions, a lot of questions, two primary ones to determine the ALP, the available labor pool, are you currently looking for work? If they say no to that, are you interested in a new or different job given the right opportunities? Comes to 259,704 folks. Now let me explain how we get to that number. Okay, here's our sort of theoretical approach here, and I'll explain actually numbers in a second. To get to that number, that available labor pool number, we take the civilian labor force, we add to that, back up, I'm sure you know this already, but the civilian labor force includes folks that are currently working and that are officially unemployed. So those folks that have looked for work in the past 4 weeks. So good solid number. What that misses, however, are those folks that aren't officially unemployed but aren't working, such as discouraged workers that have given up looking for work or haven't looked for work in the past 4 weeks. Other folks that are working inside the home, so homemakers, full-time students, people that are in the military that may be looking for work. Who am I missing? Retired folks that may be interested in a new job. So we pick up those folks through our survey research. So we have the civilian labor force plus those folks, and then, so we expand from the civilian labor force number, which is pretty big, right? That's roughly, a little less than half, a little more than half the population, if I remember my numbers right. We expand that out to include more folks. But then we contract that quite a bit because we only want to focus on those folks that are available for work, defined as looking for work currently or interested in a new job. So this is a different animal than you may say from for example, a labor shed study where you might look at the folks that are currently employed and gather information about those folks, which is good to start with. Tells you something about where people are working and what kind of folks you have in your workforce. And you can assume that, well, if there's people that are working in these jobs now, we can maybe expand to other areas similar to those. What it misses, of course, when doing a standard labor shed study, it misses who actually is available for work, who indicates to us that they're available for work, looking more interested. And again, in a specific geographic area, if I were to do a labor shed study using census data and include all of the folks living in those counties, without trimming out those areas that probably, to exclude folks that probably won't come to this area to work, the labor shed study would not be quite as accurate for a number of reasons. Again, not bad, but I would consider a good place to start. So then we have our available labor pool, which is basically those folks 18 years of age and above that live in the labor basin or basin region who are currently looking for work or indicate they're interested in a new job given the right opportunities. 18 and above because we survey adults only. So if they're under the age of 18, we don't survey. So it doesn't mean there's going to be some people that are under the age of 18 that are probably available for work. So in some cases, the ALP may be a little bigger than we're showing here. Now, for those that like to look at numbers, basically I want to describe how we got to that again. The previous slide was sort of our theoretical approach, how we do it. Here's how we actually do it. We take the civilian labor force, and from our survey research, we can pick up those folks. The first question of the survey asks, are you working part-time, full-time? Are you a homemaker? Full-time student? Retired? unemployed, disabled. And we ordered that way so that we pick up people that may be working, that retired, working part-time, pick them up first because they say they're part-time workers. So we work our way down the list. And then, so we have the number of people that are non-working in that group, right? We have the total number of completed survey responses. We divide this in math, and we have the proportion of folks that are not employed. We multiply that by the number of working age people in the labor basin. And then we come up with our, what we might call the adjusted civilian labor force when I talked about expanding it out. Expand it out. And then we multiply that number by the proportion of folks that indicate from our survey research that are interested in a job. So it's a lot of math. Basically, it comes up with the available labor pool number. And it, again, I'll show you the next slide that we do survey a lot of people that indicate that they aren't looking for work or not interested. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. And again, that would be employed folks and non-employed folks. Just all the folks we survey. So the next slide will show the available labor pool for the region. And this is the last slide I'll show on the region. We'll get into the Dodge County information in a second. So basically we can, this column here are all those folks that indicated that they were not available. So about half from our survey research, they indicate that they're not available for work. These are working and non-working folks. Now, this number here is actually a little bit, the percentage is a little bit smaller than I've seen in other labor studies. The reason, looks like there's a higher percentage of folks that are actually interested or looking. Anyway, so here's the ALP right here, the available labor pool, and then we can further divide it out by those folks that are looking for work and employed, those that are non-employed and looking, those that are non-employed and interested, and what's the last one? Employed and looking. So here we have most folks are currently employed and are interested in a new job given their opportunities, which makes a lot of sense because it's kind of the broadest category, right? Next, less broad would be those folks that are currently employed and currently actually actively looking for work. And this group over here are the non-employed folks looking for work or interested. Now, this is a kind of a similar pattern. This is always the largest group of the ALP, no matter what study we do. And over here, surprisingly, the non-employed and looking is always the smallest. Can't quite understand. These two are usually in the middle, and this is not uncommon, but sometimes the employed and looking will be a little higher than the employed and interested. But that pattern is generally what we see. So now let's talk about Dodge County labor basin. So here we have a very similar map as I described before. We're missing a couple counties on the bottom here because the assumption is that you're going to find most of your workers from these counties here, not so much down here. Again, some people probably do travel up from Rock County, but probably not enough to include in the available labor pool for the basin. And here's the population numbers, 657,000 roughly, or almost 58 for the population. Civilian labor force, 384 or 5,000 employed folks. A little bit less than the civilian labor force, of course, because these include folks that are currently technically unemployed, right? Looking for work. Anyway, we do the math, crunch the numbers, and we have an available labor pool of about 223,727 people. Again, those folks looking or interested in a new or different job. And here's the very similar breakdown from what we saw in the region. Not going to be too surprising since a lot of the data is from the region is, of course, in the labor basin. But again, I don't want to repeat myself too much, but the largest group is always, of course, those employed folks that are interested in a new job. And then we have a snake looking here like that. So here's a map of the folks that are in the available labor pool by zip code. We have the zip code of residence, so we simply run a map, and those folks that are in the available labor pool, we went out where they're, a zip code of residence. So we have a lot, the purple-ish area is the largest percent, 3% and above. Now, wow, 2%. But actually it's interesting that it starts off with, we divide this up, let's say, okay, let me back up. 3% or more in these zip code areas. If I had 15 or 20% in a zip code, that would be the top category, right? But it's actually, I think the highest was actually about 7% in one zip code area. So 3 or more makes sense. I'm not sure that, therefore, I'm not sure this map really helps you too much. It does tell you that 3% of the available labor pool are located in the zip code areas in these areas here. In many cases, it confirms where the population is. Makes sense, right? In some cases, it might indicate where some available labor pool members are that aren't maybe in high population areas. But I don't know if this is surprising at all, but you have a lot of folks that are available for work in Dodge in these areas of the region here, down south, and up here, Waterloo. Yeah, probably not surprising. Okay, here's a breakdown of some of the demographic information for the available labor pool for the Dodge County area. The wages, the age information started at the range of 18 years old to 73 years old. We didn't have a lot of 73-year-olds, but there were a number of folks that were beyond, say, 65 that were in the available labor pool. And you can see that here that the average age is 48, 49, 50 years old there. So it does mean that there's a few outliers that are higher up than most folks are pretty much in the middle there. That makes sense? Gender split, basically males versus females. We have more males in the available labor pool for Dodge County than females. That's not too uncommon, but usually it hovers around 50%. Over the years, we've changed our methodology where we include, I forgot to mention this, we include landline phone numbers and cell phone numbers in our list, call, in our sample. And that has helped increase the number of males in the study. Back in the day when I started doing this, we called landlines only, and a lot of research backs this up too, that most often the female of the household will pick up the phone, and even though we asked for the person with the most recent birthday, trying to get a random sample of people in the house, right? Still we had more females answering the phone and completing the survey. So using cell phone methodology has helped balance that out. And it just so happens that in this labor basin we had a higher percentage of males available for work than females. The education, you see the education breakdown here? We have this percent, this is the percentage, this is the extrapolated number, and this is the cumulative percentage over here. So you have about, not quite 50%, a little bit less than 50%, indicate that they have at least a bachelor's degree, right? So at least a bachelor's, maybe a master's, maybe a doctorate. 31.6% have a bachelor's degree. So I think it's probably more important to look at the cumulative percentages here. That tells you the educational breakdown or the background of the picture of the available labor pool. About 80% have some college experience, and then almost everybody has at least a bachelor's. I mean, high school diploma, right? Thank you. Okay, and then just over the past few years, we've been asking if they respond to speak Spanish at all, and sometimes that's useful for labor basins and sometimes not, but we had about a quarter indicate that they do speak Spanish, but of course the vast majority, almost 80% indicate it's only little, so I'm not sure I run out there and say, advertise that you have a lot of bilingual folks in the area. You have some, or at least people are indicating that they can speak Spanish to a certain extent. Next slide is information about current employment. And we ask on the survey about current employment in a couple different ways. We ask what their title of their job is, and then they give us 2 or 3 main duties of that job. And then we have that information typed in the system, right? Then I go through and look at every single line and code them into about one of 30 different categories. The reason we ask 2 questions is there's some categories that are very broad. Someone tells us they're a manager, great, but there's sort of different levels of management, if you will. If someone indicates that they're an accountant, they may be. When you follow up the what do you do on your job, it might be more of a bookkeeping kind of job. So I know it's a bit subjective, but it's the best way we found that we can be consistent for us, study from study, to have me do it, and go through every line of code, or every line of responses and code them into about one of 30 or so categories. And then we spit out a couple different tables, and this is one of them. And in this case, we had, and we also asked how many years experience do they have in that job. So then here we have the mean, median, years on job, and then the various categories of jobs, again, that we collapse them into. And the top is sort of general labor jobs, and this one next down is highly skilled labor type jobs. And then the next group would be service sector jobs, and then professional sector jobs, and then those folks that indicate from the first question if they're a homemaker, student, unemployed, retired, or disabled. So I don't ask them what to do, I told them. So then we come up with some numbers here. So then we have a lot of information in this table. We have not only the percentage of folks that indicate to us that they do something in that area of general labor and delivery and manufacturing and maintenance and trucking type jobs. And of course, there's more. There's a category then. So we have about 90%, 10% of the entire available labor pool do something that we consider general labor type jobs. About 10% do these kind of jobs here. And then we have a total 20% of what we were sort of lumping together as general labor. And we can get into details of really is trucking general labor or not, but for our purposes, we have to make some sense of the data, so these are the categories we come up with. So about 20% we consider general labor in this study, 7% highly skilled labor, almost 30% service sector, 19% professional sector type jobs, and then about 24.2% are currently not working. And I said non-employed there. I say non-employed, and in the report I described that really isn't the officially unemployed folks. Those are folks that are doing anything that they're not working outside the house. That's why 24% probably seems kind of high, but it does include a lot of retired folks. And I've been doing this quite a while, and I've noticed that the number of retired folks in our samples seems to be going up as the baby boomers get older and older. So that number has crept up over the years. But again, these are folks that may be retired, but indicate to us that they're looking for work or available. So they're our available labor pool. Now this, in the report, has a pie chart of the employed only. So the numbers should match up. Estimated, an extrapolated number of 44,650 in general laborers does match. Here, percentage will be a bit off because these are employed folks only, but it kind of gives you a picture of the 4 major labor sectors and how many folks are in those sectors and percentages for the available pool. Okay, in the survey too, we ask about things like educational background, if folks are attending a community college or have done so, and what field of study they're in. So the college major is basically anybody that's attended college indicates to us that they have some college experience. We ask them what their college major was. Right here, not most, but a good portion, 27%, studied something in the area of business economics. The next highest category, biological sciences and health. The next category, arts and humanities. And you can see it going around there. Kind of gives you an idea of the college-educated folks, or I should say the people that's some college experience, what their background is, education is. And then over here we have about 16%, 16% indicate that they have community college experience, or they're attending community college right now. And then if they say yes to that question, we ask them what field they're studying. And then that's an open-ended response. Those are open-ended responses that we collapse them into categories. And the largest category, almost 20%, office skills or some sort of business-related field. Nursing and health-related is also pretty high. Then you can see it goes down. We have some high skilled labor. This is a group of study areas that I collapsed into high skilled area, like welding, computer manufacturing, possibly things like that. So, but we did have enough people indicate manufacturing technology. That was kind of interesting, so I put that here, and that's about 10%. So again, those are collapsed categories, but that manufacturing technology kind of jumped out at me as one that we should put on the slide instead of just lumping it together with, say, high skilled labor, because enough folks indicated manufacturing technology. All right. Okay, so now we have another way of looking at the data we collected from those open-ended responses, collapsed into a bunch of categories, and then we can then slice and dice the data in different ways. Now here is, again, slightly different categories, grouped by sort of what people do. So you work with your hands, you work with people, you work with numbers, technology, health services, education services, and then creative arts. I got almost everybody else in there. There's a writer, musician, artist. And these are extrapolated numbers from our survey data. So what happens here is when we extrapolate to the available labor pool, when we extrapolate from the survey data to the population, I guess my point is I'm not really sure we have 4,326 artists, writers, and musicians available for work. There may be. It's a big labor basin. There's a lot of people here, right? But sometimes small numbers may be expanded a bit more during the extrapolation process. However, I think some of these larger categories might make sense. You actually might have almost 15,000 people that currently work in the areas of construction, cleaning, and manual labor. Again, these are slightly different categories from before, but we're lumping them by sort of large groups of what do you do. So we have the current number of groups, and they'll be a little bit different too because these are only employed folks. Employed folks here, right? In the survey, we do ask an open-ended question about previous employment. What was your previous job? Well, if you had a previous job, what was the title of the job? And we collapse those into categories as well. So that gives us an opportunity to say, okay, so we have the current working folks here, extrapolated number. We have the extrapolated number of folks that have previous work or training experience in those same fields. I said the same fields this way, not the same person. Somebody indicates that they are currently working in construction and they worked in construction in the past. They don't show up in this previous area here. They want to double count people. Explains in the footnote that we don't double count if they say they do the same thing. Someone's a medical doctor now, and that's what they did in the past. They're not double counted. But it does give us the ability to say, okay, here's some folks that are construction workers, cleaners, and manual laborers. How many folks did this in the past that aren't doing it now? So then we have a number here of 24,278 that have that experience. Now again, someone can't do both. So if somebody was doing this in the past, this job in the past, and they currently fall into this category here for the list, they can't do both, right? So this column here, you have to understand that, we can't really say we have 327,000 plus people available for a job because they may do jobs. Sometimes I talk too much and get myself up. But basically, current employment, previous employment, gives you a rough idea of how many folks you have in the area that can do those kind of things. And this is the same information from the previous slide, just in a graphic form and kind of interesting, I think, showing where the big categories are and where they jump out. So, and it's ordered by, obviously, most to least. General customer service, the top category. A lot of people doing that now, a lot of people doing it in the past. So we have a lot of folks with those skills. This kind of shows you. Office management, another area where a lot of people do it, and even more people have done it in the past. And then here we have construction, cleaning, and manual labor, another large area. Then it kind of tapers down to where you have some that are currently doing what we classified as researchers or analysts, have not done in the past. Have not done that in the past, or if they did it in the past, we didn't count it here. So that kind of makes some sense, right? Some of these more specialized jobs, you're not going to have people that have done it in the past that don't do it now. Right here, yes. Fourth one down is manufacturing assembly. So folks that currently indicate to us in the open-ended responses that they do something that we classified as manufacturing or assembly here, and a number of folks that indicated through the open-ended responses that they've done that in the past. This is not surprising at all. Every study I've done is similar to this anyway. General customer service on top, but we understand that where a lot of people work, so that doesn't surprise us. I don't think in other labor basins, I would see in Kansas, do a lot of work in Missouri too. Some areas in Missouri may have as many folks doing manufacturing, but a lot of them not. It's not ringing the bell, people. Okay? So actually having this fourth highest category is pretty good. This actually shows you a lot of folks in that area. Okay. Now, another way we ask about job is we ask about specific jobs. So, do you have experience doing data entry while on the telephone? It's not worded exactly right, but that's what we're getting at. Sort of a telemarketing type job or working in a call center, like our interviewers do. The next is, do you have experience working in a professional office environment? Do you have experience working in a warehouse or in a distribution center? Do you have experience in manufacturing or processing? So the columns here indicate that they say, yes, I do have experience in those jobs. So as we do this, we actually ask, do you have experience doing data entry while using a telephone? Yes or no. Next question, would you be interested in taking a job in that field? Yes or no. Then there's the next question here. Now the other categories are, after we get the data, we crunch the numbers, and the green column here indicates those that actually say they have experience and they will do it again. The purple column I'll get to in a little bit. That's the folks that fall within the necessary commute time. I'll explain that in a minute. So jumping in the report, I kind of jump ahead to a couple things I haven't shown people yet, but we do have folks that have experience, will take a job, have experience and will take a job, have experience, will take a job, and live within the necessary commute time, basically. Yes, that have experience and will take a job, and both. Right? Later on, I'll show, next slide, I'll show some information from the warehousing folks and the manufacturing folks. If they indicate that they have done those jobs, we ask them follow-up questions about what kind of job. And I'll explain. But back to your point, yes, we have the manufacturing, that's the hot topic here, right? We have about 60,000 folks that indicate that they county wages indicate that they have experience and will do it again. In the report, I did provide more information about folks that indicate that they will take a manufacturing job in Dodge County. And then we asked about specific wages at different shifts. So it's a subset, really. But I start off with these folks here. Anybody indicating that they would take a job in manufacturing went to the follow-up questions specifically for manufacturing in Dodge. Some said no, that they would not do it. Some said yes, but that's down the road a little bit. So let's see. The folks that have worked in distribution and manufacturing, we follow up with what do you actually do, which I think helps because someone might say they did work in a distribution plant. What did you do? I was a manager. Okay, that's good, but I think when we think of distribution jobs, we're thinking of folks that load trucks and move stuff around. So about 36% indicate that they had a job moving materials or loading trucks. 18% did inventory control or scheduling, and you see the other. Manufacturing, same kind of thing, although we had more answer options. So yes, I had a job in manufacturing or processing. Okay, did you do one of these? The work that you did they fall? Did you do one of these four things? Did you do production work and we define what that was. Production work, post-production work, we describe what that means. Shipping and receiving, sales, other, and pre-production type of manufacturing. So there gives you an idea of almost half that indicated they have manufacturing and processing experience did something in the area of production. Then about 10% did post-production, and 15% did pre-production. So it kind of gives you an idea of what kind of experiences these folks have that indicate to us that they have some manufacturing experience. Also, the folks that indicated they have manufacturing experience, we asked them what sort of industry they worked in. And metallic manufacturing, non-metallic manufacturing, and food and beverage packaging and processing. 40% of the folks indicated to us that they have manufacturing experience worked for an employer that did something with metallic manufacturing. And almost 30% indicated it was non-metallic. And then, of course, 20% said food or beverage, and then another 11% said other things. That's that. Okay. Now, of course, a big part of our study is asking about not just what you do, right? That's getting to the point. We ask, of course, it's important to know what people do. We also ask questions like, what do you currently earn? How many minutes do you currently commute to your workplace? But in the available individual study, we present information primarily about what people want for a job, or what they would be willing to do. The reason we ask about current wage, current minutes, is to prep them to provide a valid answer when we follow up with how much do you travel, how many minutes will you commute, how much, what's your desired wage. And it also allows me to check things. So if I have somebody, as you can imagine, you come and say, what would you be interested in earning at a new job? And they come up with $1 million. Well, we actually do some analysis looking at their current wage and their desired wage, and we find that they don't differ that much. Now, in some cases, the desired wage will be less than the current wage, which indicates to me that person is really interested in getting out of the current workplace. On the other hand, usually it's a little bit more. It's not always even, it's a little bit more. But it's not ridiculously more. So someone earning $30,000 a year typically asks for 32 or 33, which may be kind of surprising. We do get a few that go off the charts, but not too often. I think it does allow, so anyway, asking those two questions does allow me to test the data, but also prepare folks that, okay, in their mind what they currently earn, and we ask what they would like to earn, kind of gives them some boundaries, if you will. More details if you want. Okay, so then a series of questions ask about, are they willing to work outside their their primary field of employment? Are they willing to work weekends? Are they willing to work a second shift, work rotating shifts, and then work a third shift? And these are just percentages showing you the folks that indicated yes. So, about 75-ish% indicated that they are willing to take a job outside of their primary field. That usually is, from other labor studies, that is a highest category that we show on this graph here. It's not unusual. This is a little bit unusual with some labor basins. We have more folks indicating they work weekends than second shift. It's actually about the same, isn't it? It's not too far off. Well, that's actually pretty common. These two are usually sort of in second place. So we had a little more than 30% indicating rotating shifts. Then, not quite 30%, probably about 28%. Didn't memorize it, but it's on the graph, it's in the report. About 28% or so indicate they will be willing to work a third shift. Which actually kind of gives you an idea that more than a quarter, slightly more than a quarter, indicate they will work the third shift for a new or different job. Then we ask about the willingness to commute. I mentioned that a number of times. So how many minutes are you willing to commute one way for a new or different job opportunity? I'm going to graph them here. And not surprising, the vast majority, 98%, so pretty much much everybody indicates that they will commute 15 minutes for one way for a job. Okay, that's not useful. What probably is more important is that you have almost 80% indicate they will travel one way, 30 minutes one way per job. More than a third indicate they will commute one way for 45 minutes one way per job. And then 20% indicate an hour. And then it does kind of nosedive off to that. We do get some folks that indicate they will travel 90 minutes or longer, but after 60 minutes it really tapers off. Now, this is an interesting, these are survey research asking people to answer a question on the telephone, how many minutes will you commute one way for a job? And again, 100% almost say 15 minutes. I would, if I were in your shoes interpreting that, I'd probably say, well, if someone says they'll travel 15 minutes for a job, they probably would travel 20 minutes. That'd be something to, you might know more than I do, but I just feel that sometimes in the survey, it might be a little bit smaller than reality. I don't believe we could say the same thing for probably up at the other end. I mean, 100% is pretty good, or 70, 80% is pretty good for 30 minutes. It's higher than many labor bases I do, but I'm just thinking if someone's sitting in the car for 30 minutes, they probably wouldn't mind 35. Another important question for labor basin analysis is the desired wage, or as I specified earlier, what wage do you expect to earn at a new or different job? And then we graph that information, and not surprisingly, the higher wage, the more folks are available. But it does kind of give you an idea of how many folks are available for work in the entire labor basin for a job. Not some of the specific jobs, a job, we'll get specifics later on. So about a quarter are available at $15 an hour. More than half are available at $25 an hour. Again, probably not too shocking. You're going to have more folks available at higher wages. In the report, I highlight some wage preference plateaus, we call them, sort of areas where you don't get much bang for your buck. So if you look at the graph here, you have $15 an hour. Oops. Yeah, $15 an hour here, and 16 here. Yes, there's a bump, but not as dramatic as some other areas. We go from 14 to 15, a lot more people. So that might be something to consider is, okay, talk about wage increases. You might be strategic about those wage increases to get more bang for your buck. There it is. Now, we also ask about benefits. So we ask about commute time, we ask about wages, and we ask about benefits that are important considerations for taking a new or different job. And we have a whole slew of questions, starting with a good salary and hourly pay, all the way down to child care assistance. And again, this is just, yes, no questions. If the respondent indicates that this benefit is important, is an important consideration for a new or different job. So again, salary or hourly pay, not surprising. Then we work our way down to flex time. Flexible hours of flex time still comes out pretty high. More than 70% indicate that's an important benefit. Then it really drops off. Education assistance, tuition, transportation assistance, and child care assistance. We do a lot of labor studies around everywhere in the Midwest, and oftentimes clients will ask about child care assistance because it is an important issue. But every time I do a study, it doesn't show up as very important. I think what's going on there, if you're interested, is that when you need child care, it's an extremely important issue for you. Once you have child care for your kids, that issue kind of evaporates from your mind. So when we call you and ask you a question on a survey, it's not an issue. But I know that it is often an issue for some folks in labor basin. Okay, and here's another way we look at some of this information. We do ask people that are currently working what benefits that they receive from their employer. Of course, in the desired benefits, later on we ask about important benefits when doing your job. So I just do some math. And again, these are working folks. This column is working folks. This is everybody. So again, I mentioned before that the the most important benefit on the graph for folks looking for work or interested in work is a good hourly pay, or good salary per hourly pay. That's also one of the highest categories in the currently offered. So people that are actually employed indicate that they do receive a good salary. What kind of jumps out for me is something like good tuition assistance. So 53% of those currently employed indicate that they, I said do receive. I meant to say their employer offers. So 53% told us that their employer offers good educational assistance. But on the survey, asking folks that are interested in a new or different job, 36% indicated that's an important benefit. So this is one of the weird cases where actually a lot of employers offer this benefit, and at least in the survey data for people looking for work, it didn't come out quite as high. So it sounds to me like employers are doing a good job already with providing educational assistance for folks. Some of the negative numbers would indicate that, like good health benefits, came out to where there's a smaller percentage of folks indicating that, that's the second thing, yeah, more people, employers are doing a pretty good job with health. So, okay, here's one thing, the flip side, right? More folks, a higher percentage of folks indicate that they consider flex time and flexible hours as important than the employee receiving that benefit. And I'm putting way too much time on benefits. It looks to me like you're doing a pretty good job because you don't have huge numbers here. 9.9% difference here. It's not, I don't think it's that. But that might be something to consider. If you're looking for employees and you offer flex time, you might be able to pick up some more folks. But overall, I don't see nothing jumping out at me that indicates that you need to offer some benefit. Okay, now we have a subset of the availability pool, which we call the folks that are within the necessary commute time. I already described on one of the graphs the number of minutes people are willing to commute. That's for the entire availability pool, and that's probably something you really want to look at, because we have a lot of people indicating they will commute quite a number of minutes for a new or different job. This is a subset of folks that they do tell us how many minutes they're willing to commute for a job. We know what their zip code is. We also know what the zip code to the center of the labor basin is. So we do some math. Figure, okay, this person told us that they are willing to commute 30 minutes one way for a job. They live 30 minutes or less from the center of the labor basin. So therefore, they are included in this subset, right? Yes, I'll travel 30 minutes for a job. Oh, you live 15 minutes away from the center of the basin? Cool, that works out well. The other way around, someone indicating to us that they're willing to travel 15 minutes one way for a job, but they live 30 minutes away from the center of the basin. They're not included in the subset. Now, this is just a shorthand way, the best way we can figure out how to sort of hone in on those folks that are within the necessary commute time. And it's going to consider the subset because it's not really the main point of the study. It's just indicating to us that there's a number of folks that aren't willing to commute the necessary commute time to the center of the basin, and many people are. And why the center of the basin? We know that you're not going to necessarily put an employer right in the center of the labor basin, but that's the best we can do with this. With the data we collected and keep it under cost, not make the survey too long, we do some math. Where do you currently live? What's the center of the basin? We can do the math. We can do many more things, but it just gets really expensive after a while. So that's what that is. That's basically those folks that indicate to us that they are willing to commute, quote, necessary number of minutes to get to the center of the basin. And we have a lot of information in the report. One I wanted to show today was the wages. So of this subset, about 20% indicate they are willing to work for $15 an hour. A third are indicated us that $20 an hour is a good wage. And almost half, 46%, indicate $25 an hour is an acceptable wage. Then we also have some information, I don't know if I put it on the slide. Oh, I did map them, I mapped these folks. And it does make some sense that a lot of these folks are here. I need to look at this map, Vicki, because I don't know why we're having so many people show up here when this was not supposed to be in the basin, so I'll need to work on that and get back to something that's not looking right. Plus I can fix the typo. But it does, this does, again, not that dissimilar from the available pool itself, but you'll see that if we're looking at community to the center of the basin, we are not including some of these folks because they indicate they. So anyway, this just shows us that a good core of the available pool are located here, which is actually good news. If there's an impression that you don't have available labor folks here, available workers, I think this shows that you do. You know, you do have a lot of large number of folks right here. Okay, give them how much time we have. I think okay, let me talk about manufacturing now. We're almost finished. So of those folks that indicated to us that they are willing to take a job in the manufacturing field, again, 104,639, we asked those folks some questions about manufacturing. And some of those questions got very specific. So here's the background information about those folks real quickly. Same type of table we saw before. The number of male respondents increased quite a bit here, so 72% versus 28%. Education numbers shifted a bit. Virtually all, 99.3%, have at least a high school diploma, and more than a third have at least a bachelor's degree. A big chunk of folks have associate's degrees. And then the next slide shows, again, willingness to work different shifts, take a job outside their current field of employment, weekend, second shift, rotating shifts, and third shift. You see those numbers there. And we can talk about those in more detail if you like. I think that just shows right there you have a good number of folks, more than half indicate that they're willing to work weekends or a second shift. Okay. And then we had commute minutes for this subset. Again, these are folks that indicate they are interested in taking a manufacturing job. More than half indicate they will travel 45 minutes one way for a job. Almost 90% indicate 30 minutes for a job, and then literally 100%, 15 minutes one way for a job. Benefits, I don't think these vary much from the previous group. Remember the entire available pool, and we're looking at folks that are interested in manufacturing, subset of the available pool. Although I do believe that vacation benefits jumped up a notch or two before. The wage, vacation, health, retirement, and sometimes on-the-job training and flexible hours are usually on the top. But again, I'm talking about benefits again. You guys do a good job of benefits. Here we have wages. So these percentages are a little bit lower, meaning, if I remember correctly, there was more than 21% interested in $15 an hour. The previous slide, because that was the entire available labor pool, these are just folks looking at manufacturing. So it makes sense that some of these numbers would be a little bit less. Percentages would be a bit less. 21%, $15 an hour, 41%, 20, and then 57%, 25. So it makes sense to me, if I'm correct, to remember the percentages on the low end should be equally similar. I know that more than 4% are available for $10 an hour at 100%. Okay, then we asked specifically, would you be interested in working in manufacturing in Dodge County? And 54% indicated they would. And again, this is already a subset of those folks indicating their interest in manufacturing already, right? But more than half of those folks indicated, yes, Dodge County is acceptable for me to work in a manufacturing job. Then we asked some questions about, would you be willing to work the day shift? a second shift, third shift, and if so, what wage would you expect to earn at that job? And I graphed the information very similar to before. So the blue line is the day shift. Red line, second shift. Greenish line, me, kind of fourth line, third shift. Makes sense that folks indicating they're willing to work the day shift are willing to accept manufacturing jobs probably at a little lower wage than folks that more folks that are willing to accept a lower wage in the day shift than these other categories here. And then as you get along, you have more folks very interested in higher wages at the second shift. Now, it's kind of hard to interpret this information because more folks indicated they would be willing to work a day shift than a second shift, third shift. And these are numbers of people at different wages, but I think you can make some sense of the patterns. Then we did some math, thinking the mean and median average wage they're interested in earning. Again, of those folks interested in manufacturing and in Dodge County. And for those folks interested in the day shift, $25.65 is the mean. The median is 20. That means that some people at the higher end pulling that mean up, right? Yeah. The second shift, $28, mean $23. Again, some outliers, not outliers, but there's a number of people above the pulling the mean up that are higher wages, desiring higher wages. And then the third shift, $30 an hour versus 25. Again, both of these jumped up. For folks willing to work the day shift, the third shift, they would expect more money per week per hour. Okay, then we asked some questions about, okay, you indicated to us you're not interested in taking a manufacturing job. Tell us why. Not surprising, a large portion, more than 25%, about 27%, indicated that they just simply prefer doing something else. And then another large group, 17% or so, indicated that they didn't feel that their education or skills that they currently have match manufacturing. Now that might be something to work on. If you do think that folks are misinterpreting the world of manufacturing, that might be something to promote, that yes, we do employ a lot of people with a lot of different backgrounds and a lot of different education levels. Then another area, if a number of folks, more than 10%, indicated that the work is unpleasant and the work is repetitive and not very appealing. Remember, these are open-ended responses. So actually, I'm being kind here, repetitive work, not appealing. A lot of them said it was boring. That might be true in some cases. On the other hand, it might be something to work on and advertise. Hey, these manufacturing jobs, these aren't the old days, 1950s stereotype of a factory cranking stuff out. These are different types of jobs. So that might be something I would think to advertise and let people know. And again, these are open-ended responses, collapsed into different categories. So the top were prefer another field, skills don't match. Okay, those two make some sense. Unpleasant work, repetitive work. And then some people indicated they don't have the skills for manufacturing, which I thought was interesting. That they acknowledge that. See, some folks indicated, I think the folks up here indicate that, or maybe here, doesn't match my skills or education, maybe thinking that they have skills or education above what might be required for manufacturing. I'm just imagining. But we did have a number of folks indicate that they lack the skills to do it. So I think that's an interesting response there. And then some people said they were too old to work in manufacturing. Concerns were health risks. Those are kind of close to the responses we got, but I did send them around. Some people indicated that they had worked in manufacturing before and they just don't want to do it again. Okay. And then a number of folks indicated that they were not knowledgeable enough about manufacturing. Now, it's a very small percentage, but that does indicate there's some lack of information out there that you may want to capitalize on or educate. Then we asked about barriers to working in Dodge County. Is transportation a barrier for you to work in Dodge County? And about 44% said yes. And again, this is a subset of folks already interested in manufacturing work, right? And then we ask about working in Dodge, in manufacturing. Is transportation a barrier for you? Not quite half indicated that it was. We also asked about other barriers that may exist. We collapsed those into categories. And the largest category is the commute time, the distance, and the cost of travel. So I think that tells us that there's either a lack of information out there or a perception that it's too far to work, travel. Something you might advertise that, hey, it's not that far away, I'm not sure. But even though we didn't specifically ask about transportation, still a lot of people said, no, it's another reason, and it's transportation. And a few people just indicated good things about not working in Dodge. Yeah, I think that's all I have, but I'll be glad to go back and forth on different slides, answer lots of questions. If I have answers. Sure, go ahead.
So, to clarify that, 104,600 something on the manufacturing subset, those are people employed in manufacturing, or they don't currently have a job in manufacturing, but they consider it?
Those were folks, that'd be the second question we asked. We first asked if they have experience or training in manufacturing. Yes, no. Separate whole question, would you consider taking a job in manufacturing? Yes, no. That is, so those folks do have, those folks may have experience and may not. It was two separate questions on that. So, no, it is totally a question on, would you take a job in manufacturing? Yes?
Does your data take into consideration of all the available workforce individuals who have obstacles to employment, such as substance abuse issues, criminal backgrounds, and if not, is there a way that information can be correlated with the available workforce?
We don't ask those questions on, we did not ask those questions on this study. In fact, we really don't have clients often ask that question. So it's not for our normal routine. But, and then they take information that's out there already in those areas and try and say something about our available labor pool. We may be able to do that, but it wouldn't link up perfectly together because, again, this is survey data. We gather the data. We have a nice fat data set to work with. The only time I've asked about questions like substance abuse and whatnot is if they had a big issue in one labor basin or they felt there was a big issue, so we had a whole set of questions on that issue. So I guess my long, boring answer is no, we don't have that information. Sorry. Yes?
Do you have a breakdown for the age groups, for wages, benefits, and the shifts they're willing to work?
I don't, but I can. We have information on age. We actually ask them what year they were born, and they do the math. We figure it's less intrusive to ask what year you're born than how old are you. So, but we do have that information in my data set, and we can either break it down by age categories, or maybe a mean by age by, I don't know. That's something I'll look at that. Yeah. Yes?
Like those shifts, does it give you information on that, 8 hours, 12 hours?
Oh, these here? We did in the survey describe what those were. I don't have them off the top of my head. Vicki, we worked on the language on this, the day shift, second shift, and third shift, I think. Day shift might have been obvious. I know we worked up language in the survey that indicated what a second shift was.
But to your question, the number of hours
Right.
in those shifts,
Yeah, 8-hour shifts, 12-hour shifts,
I think we assumed.
6-hour shifts.
Oh, I'm sorry, I misunderstood. Yes, I think we
Yeah.
assumed they were 8-hour shifts each. Yep.
Because the hourly rate, when you raised the question, was that it would give them rates to do that, ask the open and say, what would be your expected rate?
Oh, on this question here? No, it was open-ended, but it was also prefaced more so than the previous question about wages was, what wage you expected at a new or different job. They gave us a number. These were actually for folks that were only interested in working in manufacturing and in Dodge, and in fact, in the language of the question, it was at this shift, what wage would you, anyway, it was better than the broad question. Didn't answer that very well. No, we did not, it was an open-ended response, but the question was more specific than otherwise.
So it was open-ended? In other
Yes.
words, you did not say to them, $50 an hour, $20.
Right, it was open-ended, it was basically what wage would you expect to earn at this job, and then they gave us the answer, and then we had all those responses to work with. In this case, the same thing, except these questions were more specific. So I think people answering these questions were very clear. This is for working in Dodge, in manufacturing, at have a day shift job. What wage would you expect to earn?
Yeah, just any time on it. Did ask a question about relocating, what we would relocate at, or what the cost of living that is? Because that's in, the county, the trying to attract people.
That's a good point. The labor study is really designed with commuting in mind. That's why we came up with the labor basin approach and figured that for the most part, people commute back and forth for jobs. So in this study, we did not ask about relocation. We have done studies for other areas that specifically target people living outside of the area to see if they'd be willing to relocate to the area. But that's just a kind of different study. Yes?
By doing the study that you did, what really stands out to you? Some glaring thing that you're seeing that compared to other studies that you've done for the same population, basically the same geographical area, demographic, what stands out to you that maybe?
This is the first study I've done in Wisconsin, but I can compare to other basins. I can compare to other states, Kansas, Missouri, Colorado. I did mention earlier that the percentage of people indicating to us that they are looking for work or available for work is slightly higher than in many other basins. That first slide showed about 48% of the respondents indicated that they were not available. It's usually 53 or 54, maybe 56%. So we did have a higher percentage of folks that were in the available labor. I'm not sure why, but that's just an interesting thing that jumped out at me. The distance willing to commute, the number of minutes willing to commute, 45 minutes was a little bit higher in many cases. People were willing to commute a little longer here. 15 minutes, almost everybody commutes 15 minutes, so that was an issue. 30 minutes is about the same. So it did seem like the difference between 30 and 45 was not quite as drastic as in some places that have done studies. And the number of folks interested in manufacturing was higher than in other places. Okay, that one graph shows all four of the closed-ended responses. Would you take a job? Would you, this one. Okay, this is always the largest category. This is ranked by has experience, right? If it was ranked by would take a job, we'd have office first, and then manufacturing, and then warehouse. So at the end, it looks like, oh, we don't need it, but basically it's because it's ranked by the blue columns. Anyway, data entry and phone is always the largest group. Then professional office environment, often always on the next group. And then we have these kind of bounce around. Other times I have other questions we ask. But typically, we have people that typically the red columns are a little bit less than blue columns. So this jumped out at me right here. We have 93,000 folks indicating that they have some sort of manufacturing experience or training. And then we have a larger percentage of folks indicating they are interested in manufacturing and processing job. So that jumped out at me too, is that this is unusual. Next slide. Let's see. Something about the Oh, here we go. Okay. Yes. Well, hard to say this because in the other studies did not have as many answer options here. We have something more like this, and the percentages are about, you can imagine this being the manufacturing, and we ask about manufacturing, processing, inventory, admin, other. The percentage would be about the same, maybe a little bit higher, like 40%. But here, we have different categories, I realize, so it's not really comparable. But there's 47% of folks that have some sort of manufacturing and processing experience, indicating that they have done production work is a little bit higher than I think it'd be higher than if we ask the same kind of questions other places. Not making much sense there, because if we don't have, this is the first time we've broken it out in this way. Typically we ask something like this, but again, this sort of main job area here, right, the production work is usually not quite 47%, so a little bit less. So anyway, I'm sorry, I'm helping much, but there were some differences that did jump out at me with the size of the available labor pool, the number of people interested in manufacturing work, the number of people with experience doing what I would probably pop in my mind about what is manufacturing, doing the manufacturing, not inventory control. Benefits, I didn't see those much different, but again, I'm not sure that's an issue we need to talk about much. Like you did a good job on that already. Desired wages were probably a little bit higher than in some basins. Say, get back to that. Oops, too far. Sorry. Backwards. Oh, another thing that was clear to me, I think I pointed it out, that folks with community college experience, I did not see manufacturing technology ever, well, that's a bit extreme. It did not show up in other labor-based studies as much as it did here. And I never had to actually classify highly skilled labor. Again, these are, again, open-ended responses. Do you have community college experience? Yes. What do you do? Tell us. I classify the categories. I never had folks with this classified as highly skilled labor or manufacturing technology before. They're usually things like culinary arts, cosmetology, auto repair, maybe heavy equipment operation or something along those lines. So we do seem to have more people out here doing this manufacturing. Okay, where was I going here with this? Wages. Okay. All right. So, yes, typically this is the entire available labor pool. What wage you expect to earn at a new or different job. Typically, $10 an hour would be probably 15, 20%. 15%. And then $15 an hour would be closer to 30%, maybe 35%. And then 20%, $20 would be more than half. Well, I might be getting a little carried away. Close to half. And then $25 an hour would be more than half. Which $25 is more than half here, but some labor basins, $25 an hour would be what, 65%. So, that's not necessarily what you want to hear probably, but that's what our data shows. Again, these are the random sample survey, folks in the population, indicating what they would consider a wage they would earn at a new or different job. So another thing that jumps out at me is that these wage number percentages at these different categories are a little bit lower. You see it's dropped off at $30 an hour, so we have a lot of people actually would be way up here. Yeah. Yes.
So let me ask a clarifying question. From what you said, based on duties that other basin areas around the country, sounds to me like the wage expectations from this
Let me think for a second. No, I think maybe I didn't.
25% would take $20 an hour in other areas. We have 43% that would take $20 an hour in our rate.
Let me think for a second. If I had $15 an hour, another labor basin study would be more like 30%.
Oh,
It indicates to me that there's another, here we have 75% are beyond $15 an hour.
well, so it's the opposite then.
Yeah, so if another labor basin has about 30% here, that means that it's 70%.
Okay.
So I think it is kind of bad news in a way, for my.
So our wage expectations among the survey is higher than what we see.
Correct, that's the way I would interpret this, right? There's a larger proportion of folks that aren't only on this graph than in other basins.
Thank you.
Did you use the age base? I mean, you asked them for their age, your birth. Did you put that in? When you were looking at it?
No, I can, but this is just, this is simply a standalone question. After we got to that question, asking about desired wage or expected wage. That's a good point. That might be something I need to build into the studies, looking at wages by ages. Oh, that's, yes, you're right. I would imagine we see a real strong correlation between desired wage and age. Yeah. But it wouldn't hurt me to look at those numbers too. Yes?
You said this is the one and only study you've ever done in Wisconsin, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
So there's an expectation of higher wages, I think.
Good point. I'm comparing it to labor basins that I've done in Kansas,
Other
Missouri.
areas, our expectation of higher tax, higher cost of living, I think would factor into this dramatically versus other areas of the country where the cost of living is low. And the tax.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's a good point. Yep. I was to clarify, I was comparing this labor basin to labor basin studies in Kansas, Missouri, Colorado, Oklahoma. So I need to do one more somewhere and we can really see. Yes?
With the survey, was there any consideration made to the capability and the reliability of the respondents as in number of years working in current employment, number of years in previous employment, reasons for leaving previous employment?
Well, I am able to test some of the questions by looking at, like I mentioned before, current wages versus desired wages, current minutes to commute versus minutes willing to commute, current minutes to commute versus willing to commute. Benefits, we have questions about benefits. So when I compare that data, those different pieces of data, and feel confident that the responses seem reasonable to me, I'm confident the data overall is good. But you're right, this is a survey asking folks how many minutes have you, how many years have you worked at this job, and they give us an answer. It's possible that some people are not reporting honestly. But I think overall, and another thing that I do too is I have years and years of data, and I can look at this, and if I see something that jumps out, like somebody, I don't know, working in a customer service as someone indicating that they are working behind the counter at McDonald's, and it's 20 years, which is certainly possible, but most folks, those jobs are not quite as long. If I see a mean or median year that is out there, it kind of catches my eye. And I'm not sure I do much with it. I can't go back and change the data because it doesn't match what I think it should match. But there's things that, as I do research, there's things I look out for and watch to see if the data looks valid. So I can answer that I do think the data is valid and reliable, but it's a survey. You're right. There's possibility of all kinds of possibilities. People misinterpreting the question. Again, we spend a lot of time making sure the questions are not misinterpreted if we can do it, but there's all types of reasons that the data might not be precise for every single person. Yes?
This isn't necessarily a survey question, it's maybe more of a question that maybe Vicki can answer pertaining to how are our local Dodge and Jefferson County businesses being affected and or private public sector as far as laying in the weeds, not doing something because of the fact that they won't get help. And what is the economic cost of not being able to expand the business if there is no help available on both the private and public sector side? Maybe Vicki can answer something like that.
I wish I had that data, that I could look at. Yeah, I go away. So we don't have the data of the cost of lost opportunity or the impact of lost opportunity as a result of not being able to attract workers. And that's why we took the approach we took to try to determine, well, are there workers out there? And if there are,
What's it going to take for our businesses to attract them? So I think what we've determined here is there are workers out there. They are interested in working in manufacturing in Dodge County. They're telling you what that desired wage is. Now, on the flip side, certainly I hear it anecdotally from a lot of businesses across the two-county area of, I'm turning down contracts because I can't find workers. Armed with this data, maybe you're going to change your hiring practices so that you can find the workers that you need. And that's going to be up to the employers. But we wanted to get the documented data, real data in your hands. There's only one way to do this, and that's to call human beings on the phone and ask them questions. The data's not out there, right? So you have to pay for primary research to get it. So we got it. What happens next, I think, is certainly we're going to be using this data to market our region's strength in terms of our manufacturing sector in particular, because we've got good data that says, yeah, we've got workers, and they are skilled, they are experienced. We've got that data now, so we can talk about it.
I know that the in Jefferson County, but I think also where counties and differences, are there reports working the same way?
That's a good question. In fact, I also wrote a combined report, regional report, has some information in there. Would not have the center point analysis, which was that red graph with the necessary commute minutes, because that's center of the basin. Anyway, most of the information is in there, in the regional report. There are some differences between the responses that are Dodge County Labor Basin versus Jefferson County Labor Basin. In certain percentages of different questions. I'm blanking right now on something that was dramatically different. I don't think there was anything dramatic, but it kind of makes sense since they share 8 of the counties.
so you do have something on your table that indicates how you can get the full study, should you want them, and or just get the executive summaries, which are one of the highlighted data points. I would encourage you to do that. The executive summaries are going to be on our website, but you can email us directly to get the full study. If you want to download all of that and take a look at it, then you can do those types of comparisons. Data point by data point, data set by data set, because it's all in there for you to look at. Certainly hope that you have found this information to be useful. We spent several months working on this, so get data. Yeah, so a lot of data. So we want to wrap this up and be mindful of everybody's time. We said to wrap it up by 11. Appreciate all your questions. Feel free to reach out to us with your questions. I think most of you know who I am and have my business cards. If you don't, you need my business card. That's easy for me to do. Make sure you get it. I want to thank Michael for coming here today and presenting the information. So thank you.
On my my email address,